The following podcast contains bizarre theories, strange facts, and some out-of-this-world opinions. Listener discretion is advised, especially if you trust the government. So imagine you're on a tiny island off the coast of Nova Scotia. It's the late 1700s, you're a teenage lad, and you stumble across a strange dip in the ground, with a tree overhead and a rope pulley system hanging from the branch. Curiosity, as it does, kicks in. You and your mate start digging. You find a layer of stones, then wood, more digging, more wooden planks, perfectly spaced, like a staircase going straight to hell. Then the ground collapses, floods, tools vanish, people die, and for the next 200 plus years, treasure hunters, scientists, millionaires, and conspiracy fans descend on this one spot. The Oak Island Money Pit, convinced that something huge is buried down below, whether that be Templar gold, pirate treasure, ancient relics, lost manuscripts, alien artifacts, or possibly absolutely fuck all. Welcome to Conspiracy. Hello and welcome back, you bunch of beautiful paranoid weirdos, to another episode of Conspiracy, the show where no story is too strange, no theory too far-fetched, and no one is safe from our deep dives into the unknown. Basically, it's your favourite podcast that feels like having that weirdly fascinating debate in the pub after a few beers. I'm Ash, your host, your guide into the world of conspiracies, occasional devil's advocate, and professional mystery solver. Yep, that last one is definitely self-proclaimed. If you're new around here, welcome. We cover conspiracy theories, weird mysteries, ancient histories, all whilst having a bit of a laugh. So join me every Wednesday for a bit of this and a bit of that. You can find all episodes of Conspiracy for free on Spotify or wherever those little ears of yours listen to my podcast. You lovely lot allow me to do this, so please let me know how I'm doing. Reach out on TikTok, Instagram, @Conspiracy, or via email, conspiracy@gmail.com. And please, if you enjoy the episode, get those tippy-tappy fingers and leave me a review. Seriously, it really helps. So before we get started today, I would like to say a huge apology for the fact that we haven't dropped an episode in 2 weeks. It's literally drove me insane, but I have upgraded my mic system. I wanted to give you a better experience listening to my podcast, so I thought, why not just take the time and re-record some of the episodes, because, I don't know, I think the last mic just wasn't cutting it. So hopefully this one's better. It's trial and error, so if it's just as shit, then sorry about that too, but it's going to be the same amazing, fun content, don't you worry. So with that out the way, today I've got a whirlwind of a conspiracy for you. I've done the digging, pun intended again, and trust me, this one's got everything. This is the Oak Island Money Pit, a place that's had more theories thrown at it than your nan's had cup of teas. We've got secret societies, pirate legends, Templar treasure, 200-year-old booby traps, a multi-million-dollar reality TV show, and still not a single bloody coin to show for it. Now listen, I'm not an archaeologist, I'm not Canadian, and the closest I've come to finding buried treasure is when I dug up a Twix under the backseat of my car the other day. But I have done a ridiculous amount of research on this for you lovely lot, and today we're going to unravel this thing together, one cursed pit at a time. Again, quick disclaimer before we get started, I'm not a historian, I'm not a treasure hunter, don't even own a shovel, but I do know a suspicious pit when I see one. So let's start with how this all began: a few teenagers, a shovel, and a mystery that still hasn't been solved. Our story begins in 1795. What a year. We're on Oak Island, a tiny speck of land off the southern coast of Nova Scotia, Canada. Population? Sheep, trees, wind. Pretty much where I live right now. And a couple of teenage lads with too much time and not enough supervision. One of them was Daniel McGuinness, aged about 16. He's walking through the woods when he spots something strange. A circular depression in the ground, and above it, a tree that had a sawed-off branch, and what looks like the remnants of a pulley system, like someone had been lowering something or someone into the earth. Now, let's pause, because I made that sound real fancy, but, it's not just a bush rustling in the wind. This is a man-made hole with a rig set up over it, basically. Daniel, being a curious little legend, thinks, "Oi, that looks like a treasure pit." So he does what all teenagers would do. He grabs his mates, John Smith and Anthony Vaughan, and they start digging. Literally classic teenage logic, right? Like, we got no maps, no tools, no qualifications. We have no idea what the fuck we're doing, but let's just dig a massive hole and assume it's got gold in it. And these days, I think that's the crypto market, isn't it? let's just dig into crypto and hopefully there's some gold in it. And the amount of teenagers now that are making so much money off this shit is unbelievable. You gotta respect that level of confidence. And you gotta respect John, Anthony, and Daniel and all. Like, they saw an opportunity and they just thought, fuck it, let's start digging. So they dig a few feet down, and what did they hit? A layer of flagstones. Flat stones, clearly placed there by human hands. And if you're on the fence, I would like to say that that is not normal, especially back in, what was it, 1795? Yeah, no. So that, it's not just a collapsed well or some animal burrow. Someone built this thing. So they keep digging, and at 10 feet they hit a wooden platform, thick logs laid across the shaft. So what do? They break through it, of course. And at 20 feet, another wooden platform, same at 30 feet. Perfect 10-foot intervals, each sealed off with wood. Now, it's getting pretty interesting because, these kids aren't engineers. They don't have the modern gear we have now. So eventually they actually give up. But they know they've found something. They literally know it. So word spreads, and very soon, Oak Island becomes the center of a treasure hunting obsession that lasted over 200 years. Yeah. 200 years people came to this island looking for this buried treasure. So let's be honest, this is the late 1700s. Pirate legends are everywhere, and Nova Scotia, it was the prime location for 17th and 18th century smugglers, raiders, and pirates. So immediately the public goes, it must be buried treasure. This is 100% Blackbeard's doing. Some even link it to Captain Kidd, a notorious Scottish pirate who was rumoured to have buried a fortune and bragged he left it where none but Satan and myself can find it, which, suspiciously, is on brand for this pit. And then in later years, Blackbeard himself was rumoured to have said that his treasure was hidden somewhere where only the devil and I can find it. Like, what the fuck's going on with that? Do these lads out just use the same creepy PR firm? Like, what's going on? imagine burying your treasure so well that even you can't get it back. Well done, Blackbeard. You've successfully outwitted yourself. So suddenly, everyone and their dog is saying the pit's full of pirate gold, French naval treasure, Spanish galleon loot, or even the lost jewels of Marie Antoinette. Yeah, apparently she gave them to a maid who fled to Canada because nothing says low profile like dragging raw diamonds across the Atlantic and burying them in a cursed booby-trapped hole. The mythos grows fast, and with no one able to reach the bottom, it only fuels the speculation. In 1803, a proper company gets involved called the Onslow Company. They bring in big lads, better tools, and try to finish what the teenagers started. And if you're wondering what they found, more wooden platforms. Every 10 feet down to 90 feet. Wild. And then they discovered the first truly weird clue. Are you ready for this? This is the 90-foot stone. So embedded in the shaft at 90 feet deep is a large flat stone carved with strange symbols. Nobody knows exactly what they mean, but later translations, whether they are to be believed, I mean, come on. It's like, I have the same thing about hieroglyphics. I'm like, come on now. Like, who the fuck is around today that can read hieroglyphics. Y'all just making this shit up. But anyway, these translations claims that the symbols read 40 feet below, £2 million lie buried. Now, I don't know, I think that was just made by the fucking Nova Scotia tourist company. Like, yeah, everyone come here, yeah, stay in a hotel, come dig. £2 million, yeah. And by the way, that's over £300 million in today's money. And back then, that was kingdom level treasure. Wild. Now, obviously, the stone was immediately removed and has since mysteriously disappeared. Because, of course it has. Some claim it was used as a fireplace mantle. I don't know why I found that so funny. Others say it was stolen. Well, yeah, clearly it's disappeared. And a few think it never existed at all. You skeptical lot. We're talking about a potentially ancient, priceless, encoded message. And someone said, you know what this would be great as? Chimney decoration. Get that on the fireplace, lad. What the fuck? Anyway, so the Onslow Company go, alright lads, we're nearly there. Let's go deeper. And just as they dig past the stone, boom, the pit floods instantly. Like a bath plug's been pulled, all the tools vanish, the shaft fills with seawater, and no matter how much they bail, pump, or curse, the water stays. Engineers later discovered that this wasn't a natural flood, it was the result of a man-made flood tunnel. As in, someone built underground channels from the ocean to the pit, designed to trigger when a certain depth was reached. We're talking booby traps. Like, we have gone full on Indiana Jones and the Goonies. Love the Goonies, by the way. Goonies is my favourite film of all time. I've watched it way too many times, and I think I've talked about it extensively in other episodes, so I'm not going to go into it again. But yeah, this literally sounds like fucking One-Eyed Willie. Come on. So this hole was deliberately protected, not just buried. And who the hell builds that in the 1700s or earlier? Like, what's going on? It's a bit extra, isn't it? Imagine being so extra that your treasure comes with an underwater defense system back in the 1700s. Crazy. But anyway, by the 1820s, Oak Island is famous. So that's just like is that like 100 years later it becomes famous? Like, what was the year? It was 1790. Okay, no, it was okay. So yeah, 10 years later, 1795 is when the boys were digging, and then 1820 is when Oak Island becomes famous. So not too many years later. So it's the money pit, in quotation marks, that becomes a full-blown obsession. More companies come and go, more holes are dug, more people get injured, some died. Every time they dig deeper, they just hit problems. Cave-ins, water traps, structural collapse. And yet, obviously, no one stops. Let's keep digging. Because once you've heard the legend, once you've seen the symbols, once you've heard about the flooding trap, you're pretty much hooked. Like, I'm almost like, are we still digging today? What's going like? Should I get a shovel? Should I actually invest in a shovel? But to this day, the pit still hasn't given up its secrets. No treasure, no final answer, just more questions. A whole lot of what if. So yeah, it started with those 3 teenagers and a dodgy hole. That's weird. but what they found laid the groundwork for over 200 years of digging, death, and deep, deep mystery. So coming up next, we're going to be diving into the booby traps, flood tunnels, and why this pit behaves more like a Bond villain's lair than a pirate treasure hole. Let's dive in. So you're probably wondering, how the bloody hell did they figure out that these tunnel systems came from the ocean and was flooding it every time they went deeper into the hole? So let's just have a look. So when the Onslow Company reached over the 90 foot, they were inches away from what they believed was the treasure chamber. Then the shaft filled with salt water. Not muddy rainwater, not groundwater, but seawater, which, made no sense at all because Oak Island's surrounded by ocean, but they were 90 feet down, nowhere near the shore. So, they started bailing and bailing and bailing. It didn't work. No matter how much they tried, the water kept rushing in. It was like the pit wanted to stay buried, of course. And then, years later, in the 1840s, a group called the Truro Company gets involved. They send engineers in thinking, we saw this, we got science. They started digging a parallel tunnel under the original shaft, hoping to bypass the water trap. But what they found blows the lid off the whole thing, right? So it turns out there are tunnels built from the ocean directly into the pit. Like man-made flood channels running from Smith's Cove, a nearby beach, all the way to the money pit. They even discovered that the beach itself had been intentionally modified, because what they found underneath the sand was a bizarre structure of layers of coconut fibre, not native to Nova Scotia by the way, clay, flat stones and drainage channels. So basically, it was a fake beach built to camouflage the flood system. Like, what the hell? Like, I can't even keep a houseplant alive. Someone's out there in the 1600s, 1700s engineering secret hydraulic flood traps under a beach with coconut fibres. Like, who the hell did this? Was this Aquaman with a PhD? What's going on? But why on earth build a death pit? So this is where it gets wild. So if someone wanted to bury treasure, why go to the trouble of digging over 100 foot deep, laying wood platforms at every 10-foot interval, creating decoy tunnels, and building a booby trap flood system that automatically fills the pit when it's disturbed? Like, that tells me it's not just buried treasure that is there. It was treasure that was meant to be impossible to recover. Well, unless you had the blueprints, the exact sequence of steps, and probably a small army of builders, ropes, and waterproof trousers, to be honest, but this is next level protection, and I am intrigued. I want to know what is in the pit. It sounds more complicated than a bank vault, trust me. Imagine being the guy who drew the short straw and had to build the booby trap as well. So let me get this straight. You want me to dig underwater tunnels, hide them under a fake beach, fill them with seawater, and cover it all with coconuts? In Canada? What? Me? Well, the original money pit floods. And what do treasure hunters do? They start digging more shafts. So, by the late 1800s, Oak Island looked like a block of Swiss cheese. Every new shaft hit either more water, a collapse, or some weird chamber filled with decoys and debris. Some diggers tried to dynamite the surrounding tunnels to stop the flood. Didn't work. Some tried to plug the beach tunnels with clay and concrete. Also didn't work. It's almost like the island's fighting back, don't you think? So in the 1890s, a team dug the now famous Chapel Shaft, named after William Chappell, a treasure hunter who went deep. At 153 feet, they used a drill to bore into the pit horizontally, and they pulled out bits of oak, putty, parchment with handwritten letters, and what they believed were fragments of gold chain. We've hit the jackpot. We got gold. But you know what's even weirder? They reported hearing a faint chink sound, like metal hitting metal, like ting, 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 as if they'd struck a treasure chest. And then it collapsed. Water surged in again, shaft ruined. Classic Oak Island. I reckon at this point the island just waits for people to get quite close to something, then hits the big red button that says nope. Or they punch in the numbers like in Lost. Oh, what are the numbers? I used to be able to remember them. Oh man, 7, 21. Oh, what was the numbers that they used to punch in Lost every fucking episode? If you know, let me know in the comments, because that would drive me insane. And you know, it wasn't just booby traps and all kind of fun and games, because people were dying too. A few years earlier in 1861, during one of the earliest major digs, a pump engine boiler exploded on site. One man was killed instantly and several others were injured. This was the first recorded death associated with the money pit, and more would follow. Booby traps weren't just mechanical, this thing had a body count, which gave rise to a new layer of the legend, the curse. So what does this tell us? Let's connect some dots. You've got a deliberately designed booby-trapped hole. You've got flood tunnels made from a fake beach lined with exotic fibres. You've got a treasure pit that's never been fully excavated, no matter how much tech, manpower, or money is thrown at it. And you've got strange symbols, missing artifacts, and trap-triggered collapses. This is not normal, if you're not following along. And that's why it's a conspiracy episode. But you don't build all of that unless you're hiding something pretty huge, no? Like, unless, or maybe you're just really, really hateful of future generations, and you just want to say, fuck y'all. I'm just gonna bury my. It's basically like leaving your fortune to the cats, innit? But either way, this was by design. Someone or some group maybe buried something so valuable or maybe so dangerous that they had to turn the entire island into a giant puzzle box just to keep it safe. So what's down there? Gold? Ancient relics? Secret documents? The Ark of Covenant? Or, I don't know, or just the most elaborate Canadian prank ever recorded? The real answer is that we still don't know, because this is an unsolved mystery. But I do feel like it's important to talk about the curse and the death toll, because, you know, people lost their lives there, so I feel like they deserve a shout out. So by now, we've established that Oak Island is no ordinary treasure hunt. Not just a riddle, not just about lost gold or conspiracy theories, because over the last 200 plus years, people haven't just lost money, patience, and sanity, they lost their lives. So let's talk about the curse. 7 must die. That's in quotation marks. That's what I found everywhere, in quotation marks. 7 must die. So let's start with the legend itself. According to Oak Island folklore, and again, no one knows exactly where this originated, which somehow makes it worse, 7 people must die before the treasure will be revealed. I don't know who decides on that, but let me know when the 7th one is dead, and I'll be going to Nova Scotia. Now, I don't know where this magic number comes from. Nobody really knows. Couldn't find anything online. Just always been a part of the island's mythology. Passed around, whispered, even cited by the Curse of Oak Island TV show, like it's gospel. And as of today, 6 people have died while searching for the treasure. So just 1 more to go. Who's taking 1 for the team? Come on. No, it's terrible. Yeah, so 1 more to go, if you believe the legend, of course, which we obviously do. But also, imagine being the 7th guy. Alright, lads, I'll just pop down this tunnel and... Wait, how many people have died so far? 6? Hey, no, I don't want to be here. I don't want to die so you guys get the money. Someone's got to do it. But anyway, the first death that was recorded, like, as I mentioned, was 1861. Was when a massive steam-powered pump engine just exploded. The boiler exploded. 1 man was killed instantly, several others injured. And then we had the 1897 drilling collapse. So in 1897, yet another company, because capitalism never sleeps, drilled too aggressively and the shaft exploded. 1 man fell to his death and another was crushed by debris. And listen, you know, these weren't just amateur explorers, they were engineers at the time, contractors, proper professionals, but it didn't matter. Oak Island has a way of chewing up everyone who comes a little bit too close, apparently. And then we got the tragic trio, 1965 shaft collapse. So, this is possibly the darkest day in Oak Island's history so far. So this came in August 1965. A man named Robert Restall had become obsessed with the mystery. He brought his son Booby and a small crew of 4 men to the island. These were experienced diggers, not just some lads with garden spades and a dream. They were working on what's called Restall's shaft. Robert was down in the tunnel when he was suddenly overcome by gas fumes, believed to be either carbon monoxide or hydrogen sulfide from disturbed underground sediment. He passed out and fell into the flooded shaft. His son Booby, trying to save him, jumped in immediately, Then 2 more followed. All 4 men drowned. Only 1 member of the team survived by sheer luck because he didn't enter the shaft. So in just minutes, 4 men were gone. A father, a son, 2 colleagues, all trying to unlock the same mystery. Their bodies were recovered days later, and to this day the Restore tragedy is considered the darkest chapter in Oak Island lore. And yep, that brings the official death toll up to 6. Now, here's where the energy shifts. It's not just physical danger, it's this heaviness, because the curse isn't just about death. Loads of people have reported bad vibes, psychological effects, and dreams after visiting the island. Some claim to feel watched. Others report extreme misfortune after returning home. Man, I think I've been to this island. God damn. Even seasoned treasure hunters start to act strangely obsessed, as if the island sinks its hooks in and doesn't let go. So people have experienced things like financial ruin, illness, divorces, family breakdowns, even bankruptcy and paranoia. They call it the Oak Island fever. And apparently it's real. Oak Island fever. I got the Oak Island fever. I got the Oak Island fever. Anyway, people remortgage their homes, destroy marriages, spend their retirement funds, all because they need to know what's at the bottom. They cannot give up. I want to be the first one to find the treasure. I kind of get it. If I lived anywhere near Canada, I mean, I'd take a shovel, for sure, even just for a day. See what you come across. But what if the curse, the Oak Island money pit curse, the Oak Island fever, what if it's not just a legend? What if there's something to it? You know? What if, let's just say for fun, that the 7 must die curse isn't made up? What if the people who buried the treasure, Templars, Masons, pirates, whoever, deliberately found a way to curse the land? It wasn't like the 1700s, 1800s, like, ripe with, like, Salem and shit, like, witches and stuff. I mean, maybe. We're talking ancient protective rituals, symbolic death numbers, spiritual contracts. The number 7 is a sacred number in many belief systems as well. You got the 7 deadly sins, the 7 seals in the book of Revelation, the 7 chakras, 7 years bad luck for breaking a mirror. It is pretty much everywhere when you think about the 7. Could that be part of a protection spell? A kind of spiritual failsafe written in the very design of the pit? Because if so, it's worked. Because over 2 centuries later, the treasure's still untouched, and they're only 1 person away from reaching the 7. So, just some food for thought there. Because, you know, if something's true one way, then it can also be true the other way. Maybe this is a curse. Maybe that it has the name for the reason. So whether you believe the deaths were tragic accidents or signs of something deeper, something older, one thing is for sure, Oak Island doesn't give up its secrets without some blood. And with only 1 life left on the curse tally, if the stories are true, the question now is, who's going to be number 7? And are we moments away from finding what's there? I feel like we live in an age of, like, what's the word? I feel like we live in the world of, like, revelations. I think that sounds way too religious. no, I'm talking disclosure. I feel like we live in the age of disclosure. Like, everything is kind of coming out and everyone's talking about, and so I wouldn't be surprised if this is another thing that we're going to encounter in this generation, in our lifetime. I hope so. Anyway, what is down there? I want to know. I really, really want to know. So, what's actually been found? I think that's a good segue. That's a good idea to talk about what's actually been found. We talked about the cursed deaths, the booby traps, the flood tunnels, and the fake beach and the legend of the 7 souls. So surely with all of this digging, someone's found something by now, right? 2 centuries. What was it? Dozens of companies, millions of dollars, armies of engineers, geologists, psychics, I don't know, and now even drone operators Surely someone's dug something worth the hype. Well, sort of. So let's start with the most commonly cited discoveries from Oak Island. And yeah, I'm putting discoveries in air quotes the size of the Atlantic, don't you worry. So the first was that 90-foot stone. The infamous coded stone found in the original money pit at around 90 feet. That was translated to say 40 feet below £2 million lies buried. Sounds very movie trailer, but as I mentioned, the stone disappeared, fully gone. It's on someone's fireplace, apparently. So, next, we have old coins and metal objects. So, various coins have been dug up across the island, some dating back to the 1600s. But, here's the thing with that. Nova Scotia was a trading route, and Oak Island had multiple campsites. So, it's very possible that these coins were just dropped by previous treasure hunters, settlers, or campers. But still, they fueled the theory that pirates like Captain Kidd and Blackbeard may have hidden treasure there. So if you add to that, there's also been discovered small metal fragments, raw iron, and rusted tools found in various different shafts. Could they just be from previous explorations? Could be. Could they have been buried there for a reason and they're also cursed? Could be. Is that where they dug up Annabelle? Is that where the Annabelle doll comes from? But another thing that was found was parchment fragments. So this one is juicy. So in the 1890s, while drilling around the 153-foot level of the pit, workers recovered small bits of parchments with handwriting on them. Letters like Vi, spelt V-I, or Ri, R-I, in ink on fibre paper. We're talking handwriting at 150 feet below ground in a booby-trapped pit. How does that get there? This fueled theories of hidden manuscripts, specifically that Shakespeare's original plays were buried there. We'll get into that in a bit. Next, we got the coconut fibres, right? So beneath Smith's Cove, the artificial beach, coconut fibres were used in the construction of the flood tunnels filtration system. This is that giant drain that floods the pit on command. But I want to ask you to think about this for a second. Where do coconuts grow? Because I don't think it's in Nova Scotia, that's for sure. So how the hell did loads of coconut fibres end up buried under a fake beach attached to a trap system in 1700s Canada? That alone, I think, proves someone foreign and advanced came there with a serious construction plan. So, could that be the Templars, pirates, secret engineers, aliens with tropical taste? Let me know in the comments what you think. Next up, they found gold chain fragments. So back in 1849, the Truro Company drilled into that money pit and pulled out small pieces of a gold chain. Tiny links, no chest, no pile, just fragments. Of course, no one's been able to find this chain again. The company folded, the shaft collapsed, the gold lost to the island once more. Suspiciously convenient. We don't have really much more information about that company, or maybe, I think maybe they dissolved the company because they got rich, but, so let's move on. Next up, we've got stone paving, timbers, and anchor marks. So multiple excavation sites have revealed stone pavements laid out in geometric patterns, massive timbers that seem to serve no structural purpose, post holes and anchor points, possibly for large machinery or staging areas. So some researchers believe that these are ritual construction signs, consistent with Masonic or Templar planning, or maybe just evidence of a really over-prepped 19th century digger. Again, depends who you ask on that one. So next up we've got bones. They found human bones. In 2016, the TV show The Curse of Oak Island, which is a very interesting watch. Just give it a go, even just one episode. It's very entertaining. So they used core drilling near borehole H8. So they kind of name all these little things. And one of the holes that they were digging is borehole H8. And what they did is they recovered bone fragments. So DNA analysis revealed that the bones were one from a European ancestry and the other one from a Middle Eastern ancestry. Now, I don't know about you, but How does a Middle Eastern bone end up 160 feet down in Nova Scotia? This is just so strange. This is so weird. Unless you believe the Knights Templar brought something or someone very far from home. Well, here's the kicker. Despite everything, all the artifacts, clues, coded stones, coconut bedding, and whispers of Shakespearean scrolls, no actual treasure chest has ever been recovered. Not even a big gold coin, no crown, no goblets, no pile of jewels. So the critics, aka fun suckers, say it's all coincidence, it's a natural sinkhole, the wood was from collapsed trees, the coconut fibres was ballast from the ships. You're reading into it too much. But the rest of us, we say, first of all, fuck y'all. But second of all, someone buried something massive and they hid it so well that 200 years later, we're still being outsmarted. And it's intriguing. So, let's have a look at what we got. Weird stuff that shouldn't be there, clues that feel like puzzles, few shiny objects just close enough to keep the dream alive, and a hole that swallows millions. It's like the island knows how to keep us coming back, doesn't it? Every time someone gives up, someone new shows up with a fresh theory and a fresh wallet. And with each tiny discovery, the legend keeps growing. Because as long as there's just enough to keep the story going, the dig continues and the tourism continues. So, okay, the moment you've all been waiting for. What's really under Oak Island? We've dug the pit, we've seen the traps, we've mourned the curse, we've poked around coconut fibres and mystery bones. Now comes the part that we've all been waiting for, the theories. Because let's be honest, you're not still here for timber and coins, are you? You're here for the real meat and the madness, and Oak Island has plenty of it. We've got secret societies, sacred relics, lost manuscripts, and extraterrestrial engineering coming up. And today, we're saying yes to all of them. Let's go. So, theory 1 is pirate treasure, Captain Kidd and Blackbeard. This is the most OG theory, the vanilla ice cream of Oak Island conspiracies. So the idea is that a legend pirate like Captain Kidd or Blackbeard buried his loot here sometime in the late 1600s or early 1700s, and it does fit the era. Oak Island is remote, it's hard to reach, but still near old trading routes. Perfect for stashing a bit of gold and rum before legging it back to the Caribbean. And as we mentioned at the start of the episode, multiple accounts even claim Blackbeard and Captain Kidd said that they buried their treasure where none but Satan and themselves can find it, which, let's be honest, is exactly the kind of thing you say just before you set up a booby trap flood tunnel under a fake beach. But, counterpoint, pirates weren't exactly known for their engineering skills. Flood traps, 100-foot shafts, decoy platforms. Seems a bit much for a bloke who probably couldn't spell map without stabbing it. So, I don't know how I feel about this one being pirates doing all of this kind of engineering. Pirates barely kept their own teeth in their head, didn't they? So you're telling me they hired an underground team of 17th century hydrologists with coconut schematics? Behave. So next up we've got the Knights Templar. Now we're talking. I'm going to do a whole episode on the Knights Templar because they fascinate me. It is a fascinating story. So I won't go into too much detail here because I kind of want to save all the juicy details for the episode. But this is where things get proper conspiracy, right? Knights Templar. So the theory goes like this. In the 14th century, the Knights Templar, which are a super rich, super secretive military order, which were hunted by the church, many fled with treasure, possibly including the Holy Grail, the Ark of the Covenant, and even secret relics. They sailed across the Atlantic, made it to Nova Scotia, and buried it all in Oak Island. And if you're asking for evidence, there's some that, if you squint hard enough, you might find it. So, there's some Masonic symbols that have been found carved into stones across the island. Also, the Templars are the historical origin of modern Freemasonry. So, you've also got that aspect of things as well. And from even the name you could tell that they were, builders. They knew how to construct things. They were responsible for building churches and cathedrals, and they left secret tunnels and all the rest of it. So, again, I'll do a whole episode on the Freemasons because I also find those interesting. Then you've also got that infamous 90-foot stone that they found. Some believed it used a Templar cipher. And even that Middle Eastern DNA bone found in the borehole, some say it supports the theory because many Templars had Middle Eastern ancestry from the Crusades. So that would make sense, I guess. Next up we've got, it could be the Freemasons. So this kind of overlaps heavily with the Templar stuff. Freemasons have long been rumoured to hold ancient knowledge, codes, secrets of the universe, just casual Thursday stuff. Some believe Oak Island was a ritual burial ground, not for people, but for knowledge. So when you take a look at the actual shafts, they are laid out in geometric patterns. Also, the island contains Masonic layouts like the Tree of Life from Kabbalah, traced by boreholes. Items like the parchment, chisel marks, and cryptic symbols do feel very Masonic, to be honest. So the theory goes, the Freemasons sealed away ancient secrets in the pit, perhaps including religious documents, proof of divine bloodlines, or the ultimate "we told you so" document that would collapse all organized religion if revealed. Again, we don't know for sure, but it does seem like something maybe. I'm swaying at the moment more towards the Templar Freemason theories over all the rest of them, so let's move on. So next up we've got Shakespeare's manuscripts / Bacon's vault. So this one is pretty niche but incredible. So there's a theory that Sir Francis Bacon, the philosopher, alchemist and favourite of Queen Elizabeth I, was actually the true author of Shakespeare's plays. Now, I live in Stratford-upon-Avon, which is Shakespeare's homeland, so I better not say that too loud because they'll be coming for me with pitchforks. But they say that he buried the original manuscripts along with evidence of his authorship in Oak Island. Why? Because England was rife with religious and political tensions at the time, and Bacon, a Freemason, supposedly encoded messages in Shakespeare's work that pointed to spiritual enlightenment. So naturally, they hid the evidence far away under coconut-soaked booby traps. Some believe the parchment fragments found on the islands are part of those lost works. And I have to say, I do love that this theory suggests that the Bard of Avon faked his death, packed up his quill, and rode to Canada with a backpack full of sonnets. It is quite an amusing one. Okay, so let's crank it up a notch because we've got aliens. Aliens, ancient tech, and Atlanteans. Now, we're here. We're fully in it. This theory posits that Oak Island was either a landing site for ancient aliens, a technology vault from a lost civilization like Atlantis, or even a dimensional access point, a kind of planetary lockbox. Arguments for this include impossible engineering for the era, okay, the fact that the flood tunnel system works like modern water management tech, okay, alleged electromagnetic anomalies recorded on the island, okay, and of course, the perfect placement of features that align with celestial bodies that can be found everywhere, okay. Convinced it's aliens. So yeah, I mean, either space lads dropped off a cosmic USB stick and buried it deep on Oak Island, or humans once knew something we've long forgotten and just left it hidden there. And given how dumb we are now, I'm rooting for the aliens. If it does turn out to be alien tech, the History Channel will combust from smugness. Let me tell you, they have been prepping that from 2008. And finally, our last theory, it's all a massive scam. Yup. Some researchers believe there's nothing there, that it started with a misidentified sinkhole, then a bit of a legend, then the sunk cost fallacy of generations. Every new dig stirs up more debris, confusion and findings, all of which could just be leftovers from previous hunters. And of course, once the curse of Oak Island hit telly, millions poured in from History Channel, tourism and merch. So the theory goes, the real treasure was the reality TV deals we made along the way. Yeah. And if that's true, then Oak Island is less of a money pit and more of a content farm with a body count. Like, pretty much. I could see that. Some marketing genius ahead of its time was like, yo, we can capitalize on this. Let's just keep digging holes and put some wood in there, and each level is going to have some mystery to it, and we're just going to get people absolutely wild over this. We're going to cause mass hysteria, and everyone's going to come to Nova Scotia and spend money, and we're going to just become the richest country in the world. I can see that too, to be honest. But it could also be aliens. I mean, come on. And also, it could just be a little bit of everything, right? Here's my take on it anyway. It started with something real. Maybe Templar gold, maybe a sacred artifact, maybe a powerful document. I reckon there's something real that was there originally. The engineering was too clever, too layered, too consistent to be an accident. It was definitely constructed that way. But I do feel over time maybe people misinterpreted what they found, but they kept digging. And I feel like Oak Island, like all great mysteries do, kind of just fed the obsession. And it's now become a self-sustained legend, right? So the deeper people go, the more they want answers. And the more they want answers, the more the island gives them just enough to stay interested. So, I don't know. I feel like Oak Island's a mirror, right? I feel like it's a mirror. It reflects our need for mystery, for discovery, for belief. It kind of knows that's exactly how it's going to keep you coming back to it. Keep the name in your mouth. So, keep my wife's name out your mouth. So will the treasure ever be found? Maybe. Maybe not. But maybe the treasure isn't gold. Have you thought about that? Maybe the story is the gold. The curiosity, the journey. Or maybe there is still a secret at the bottom of that pit, watching, waiting, just waiting to be discovered. Could also be that. That's it for today's episode of Conspiracy, you absolute legends. I hope you enjoyed it. It wasn't too serious. It was a bit of a different one today. It wasn't too serious, but, you know, it's still a conspiracy nonetheless, so I do hope you enjoyed that. And as always, if you've got your own theories, stories, or if you found the gold, drop me a DM or message me on my socials. Get involved in the comments on Spotify or YouTube. You can find us on TikTok and Instagram at Conspiracy, or you can even email me, conspiracy@gmail.com. So go ahead, drop the first comment and get the conversation started. Conspiracy. This has been Conspiracy. I've been Ash, and if I ever disappear in Nova Scotia holding a shovel and a flask of tea, tell my mum I went looking for Shakespeare. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, share it with your mates, and leave us a review. And until next time, keep asking questions, keep digging, and remember, the truth is out there.